Record. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited, so stoked. I have Jacqueline and Minna here from the Product Boss podcast, and they're going to share, and I'm going to try to do less talking if you can believe it. They're going to share their success story with my program, my coaching. And the first question, Jacqueline and Minna, is tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. So we are the Product Boss podcast. So we help product-based business owners grow and scale their businesses. And we have a podcast, we have courses, we have masterminds. And we've been doing this for about, I don't even know, Mina, three and a half years.
2017. What year is it?
No idea, but maybe sometime around that time. But we grew it very organically for a very long time until we met Maria. And then we started jumping into paid ads. And so we're probably about a year and a half into it. And thank goodness we did, because it was right before the pandemic and our business is absolutely just transformed.
Mm-hmm. Right before, meaning full year before the pandemic. So it really transformed us in a way that it up-leveled our own skills too. When we kind of started off slowly, we got our voice together, all these different things. And when we met Maria, it kind of like was adding gasoline to a fire. You know, we were able to, she just amplified our voices in a way and made it so we could monetize really quickly. And it was just great. We have a great dynamic with her for sure.
Thanks. And, just so anyone listening kind of will know, I think it's fascinating that both of you are partners and you don't even live in the same city. So can you share with everyone where you live or where you're traveling?
Yeah. So when Mina and I first met, I was bi-coastal, so between Los Angeles and New York. I typically am in basically right outside New York City and New Jersey, and Mina's in Iowa. So we started this business being business partners in different states. We've continued to grow the business in different states. So a lot of our business is, especially during the pandemic, has to be online. We haven't seen each other in a very long time, but yeah, that's how. So we work, our whole team is virtual and we meet with each other online.
And I love that because we couldn't do this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to dig into a little bit, and you alluded to it earlier. What was the problem, if you can kind of think about that? What was the problem that you had prior to, getting in on my coaching?
Right. Well, we didn't even know what was possible for us. So we were kind of just like, it's kind of how a lot of business owners start, where it's, I have an idea, I'm going to get it up there, I'm going to try it. And we were doing that. We were quite successful organically in our minds of where we hit. But I think we had a little bit of a ceiling, like we created our own glass ceiling and we had a cap to our growth. And meeting you, I think there were two huge things that happened. One, you have such a incredible mindset and growth mindset. And so with that, you really helped us see what was possible. Like you told us when we first met you, you can be a 7-figure business, like this is you came up with these ideas for us that were like, no, you're crazy. Like, no way. So I think that was like the first part. And you continue to do that for us. You continue to kind of blow our minds a little bit to keep elevating that like taking the cap off of our potential. Yeah. Also, we had a course and we talked about it on the podcast, and we sent emails to our smaller email list, and we kind of we were like, okay, this is working, we're going slowly, and 5-figure launches were great. And then we met you. And again, that potential that you expressed us, like, you could do this, you could do that, set strategy behind it. And then we started blowing our own minds again with the potential of the course that we built and how we sold it and how we got in front of other people and the momentum. So it really just like, I don't know, like transformed the trajectory of our business and our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the thing that I really admire about Maria is that she has such a cued in, she's very aggressive, first of all, but it's so cued into her gut, her intuition, and in a way that it feels so attainable for us. And so following her intuition, but she knows, for example, that, oh, okay, this is a partnership. This is what they could do. She really is authentic in the way that she has always coached us, right? It bends in a way that, okay, this is my intuition. This is my gut for you guys, and I need to pull you through, but I have to approach it in this way because I know that you've never done ads before, because I know that you prefer this, or, I know, you aren't together all the time. And so it's really fluid in that. And, but she's really tapped into these big possibilities for us in a way that still feels attainable, even though that they're bigger and crazier than we've ever imagined for ourselves.
Could you have imagined being so visible now? Because remember at the beginning, it was like, what do we say
uh
on this video? And
uh-huh.
it,
Yes.
Mina's like, uh-huh.
well,
So
I think that'll lift people up. Why don't you talk about that? Because I think that'll lift people up. If someone right now is listening to this and scared of being visible, because a lot of people know, hey, you got to get visible, you got to get out there, make offers to start making money online. So maybe talk to that a little bit.
well, I know we label ourselves a lot, but it's sometimes easier for like our audience to understand or identify with us. And so as I am technically the extrovert, I mean, as technically the introvert, even though we've kind of flipped a little bit sometimes too. But thinking of an extrovert, you would think that I'm comfortable on camera, right? Not necessarily, but it was just easier for me to connect with people by getting on camera and showing up. For Minna, it was sort of a lot of times it had to be with me and she had to get motivated to do it, right? To show up. And I know with you, Maria, you were like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like video is great. Get on video, do a Facebook Live. It's going to really help with your ads. Like you were very much about getting us out in front of people. And it probably felt easier to me than it did for Minna. But holy moly, Minna does reels by herself now. She's on like I'm like, oh, Mina's doing a live unboxing. I'm gonna watch. So.
Yeah, I've definitely pushed myself out of my comfort zone, but I think that the thing that really helped because Jacqueline and I each did not know what we did not know. And I think with Maria, she was able to pinpoint what our secret sauce was. And it really had to do with our dynamic that, that I was an introvert, that I was, that Jacqueline was an extrovert, that I needed a little bit of pushing to get, out of my comfort zone. And people liked to be part of that journey. Whereas my go-to probably would have been, well, I don't want to talk about it. I'll figure it out. And then I can show up online,
Yeah.
And she was like, well, no. This is what I'm seeing. And when you ever work with Maria, she speaks in form of story.
All the time.
Yeah, always. Like she doesn't tell you what to do. She pretty much will tell you a story or a reference or who she's learned from and everything like that. And I think that that is really beneficial in how Jacqueline and I learn because we don't know what we don't know. And so she would say, well, this is what I've seen. This is what I've seen work. But for you guys, I think this. And that story is what really helped at least me pull myself out of my comfort zone because I knew that was not just my story, that people don't want to show up online all the time, that people don't want to talk about this or that they're an introvert. And it was just really beneficial to have someone who was able to think really big, but in a way get you there too. It wasn't just, oh, you know what? It's like how people will tell you, you know what you should do? Raise your prices. And they have no idea what that even means. But for Maria, she would tell us what to do, tell us what to say, but she would breadcrumb it in a way that we were like, oh, I can see that for myself. And it's bigger than I even imagined.
Let me tell you a story about a time when this person raised their prices and did it. And now they're an 8-figure business. So maybe you guys could consider raising your prices, but it made sense for us because both Minna and I are fact finders. Like we need facts to back up our decisions. And so I think, we really align with your coaching in that way because of, it's not like telling you what to do because her and I would be like, but wait, will that work? And then we would have to go do our own research to affirm that choice was right for us.
Has that ever worked before?
Yeah.
It's usually the question.
So by coming at us with those examples, and I think your knowledge of you've been in the industry for so long and the amount of people you've worked with and your connections have really helped us kind of peek behind the scenes at places we would never be able to peek behind the scenes at.
Love it. Love it. Oh my God. And like, just your growth is so explosive. Like I've just seen you all both bloom so much and you still have you're going to the top and I'd love seeing how many lives you're impacting. Let's segue there for a second because I really want to talk about the outcome that you've had now that fast forward, like almost just over a year and a half being coached with me. But I want you to talk about not just your financial success, but because I know this is so important to you. It's almost the legacy you're both leaving, how it feels and the community that you've built and the females out there that you're helping.
Great question. So I'm going to just start with that. I love money.
Yeah. I was going to say that wasn't a desire until recently that,
But I say
that's
that
impacted. Yeah.
but I say that in the way of one, women don't admit it enough, but two, I actually had such a fear of money. So such a scarcity of
Hmm.
money, it's all going to run out. I'm going to be homeless. That's it. We're done. I don't know what to do with myself. And so money has always been a thing to me that was like, oh, this is my life vest. This is the thing. This is what's going to make sure that I survive out in the wild. And so I used to think that that was the goal. So when we first met you, it was very much about like, how much do we spend? What do we do with ads? Like I felt like I was checking, our conversions on ads all the time and just like really oh my goodness, what are we going to do if we run out of money? But then as we grew and we started having a bigger impact, the money was coming and the money was coming easily. And eventually Mina and I hit a huge milestone last year, in terms of revenue, but we hit the revenue, but the impact, like going through the pandemic with our community, like having the ability to reach more people through paid marketing and through our courses and through organic marketing and all that. Actually, when we hit that revenue goal, we're like, holy moly, we hit this, but that actually just feels like the sprinkles on top of the impact that we're having. And I couldn't believe, for me, my mindset switched in that way, because I was like, that was the thing I always thought was my driving factor. But in fact, it was like the impact on lives, that we helped other people make money. We helped them change their lives. We helped them leave full-time jobs or put their kids through college or retire their husbands. Just, that they were building businesses and they were successful, especially during the pandemic, and that, and watching them thrive. We said, like, not only survive, but thrive. That was the thing that I could not believe that all of a sudden we had impact in the world. And then the money was just the extra special topping on top.
Yeah, extra, extra special. Because, when we first started, I felt like it was validating. The money was just a validator. So it felt like we're on the right track and we're doing all these things. And I think that when we first started, it was mostly Jacqueline and Maria saying we actually could be leaders. We actually could be known for this. And my thing is that true, but we're already making money, so we don't really need to impact anybody. And then it just kind of evolved from there, that, oh my gosh, I can't believe how fulfilling and gratifying this is. And another thing that I realized too was that it was kind of like when they said we could be leaders, or it was like they lifted this lid off of me, that I thought, well, that means that I'm just the quote unquote talent, and when I should be working hard for something. And that's what it felt like. Like I should be working, I should be hustling, I should be doing all the things. Now, that's not to say that we didn't do that. We did do that, but it was the tweaking of the Facebook ads. I always felt like I had to get somewhere, like I can teach this when I get somewhere. I can, be the quote unquote talent when I know all the things. But really, it was, I just had to hire the right people. So I really saw that when we hired Maria and she started doing the Facebook ads, and I literally know nothing about them, nothing. And it was like, oh, it is true. I can be the quote unquote talent. And that simply means that I'm just leading the community in a certain way, impacting these lives. And that is my talent in a way, is that I get to do what I want, educate everybody. And I don't have to be 20 steps ahead of them. I'm just me, And then so that felt really validating in itself. It was a different validator. Like there's a validation in the money and the validation in that, oh my gosh, the impact that we're having. And whereas before I just thought that there was no form of being validated in that way. I didn't desire it,
And it's all about stepping into your future self, right? Like
Yeah.
like when we first started, what would the $1 million Jacqueline and Minna do when you're making $1 million? Now it's like, what would the $4 million Jacqueline and Minna do? And then now we're going to have to say, what would the $10 million product boss company?
You don't even know.
Yeah.
Palm fronds and someone feeding me grapes. I don't know. Is that what that world looks like?
Yeah, that's right. We're all supposed to celebrate in Paris once we can travel again.
Yeah.
Under the Eiffel Tower. Let's talk about specific numbers. Your first month, if I recall, your revenue was about $50,000 in your first 30 days coaching with me. Is that about right through that first challenge?
Yeah. I mean, we went from having like a $14,000 month. That was kind of like our average, to then like when we started running the ads and then doing all that. Yeah. It jumped to 50. And then probably within 3 months, we were doing 6 figures a month.
Yeah.
And that was that.
And your first year, you crushed seven figures, right?
In 10 months,
10
we
months.
hit seven figures, which was
Wow.
bonkers because that same year we started at $14,000 in our first month.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. We're like,
Yeah, January was 14, right? And then it was
and the pandemic hits.
Mhm.
We're like, there's no way. It was a goal. We're like, we're doing paid ads. Our goal was we want to hit seven
Yeah.
figures. We thought that we could do that with ads. And then the pandemic hit. We're like, there's no way we're going to hit it. And then by October, we hit it. And it was mind blowing.
And it is mind blowing. And, you know, when we think about it, what I love too is that, because I don't know if you remember this, but the hardest work I feel was constraining to a single offer. So you get really good at that, because it's so easy once you start making money to then go off and offer like 20 different offers. But do you remember that was like, it's like that Bruce Lee quote about getting really good at that one karate chop, right? How did you feel? Can you remember how that felt when I said, just get really good at selling your course? Like, you know, you're making so much money from that. And yeah, maybe later phase 2, we add on the micro offer, and then you have now a high ticket group mastermind. Like, can you, sorry for the bird chirping, I'll mute myself in a second, but can you just so that someone who's listening right now can relate to that, if they're thinking about, should I do a course? Should I do a high ticket mastermind right away? Should I do a micro offer? Kind of share your journey so that someone listening can get inspired that it can be done. Just don't try and bite the whole cake off in the first month, but phase it in.
Well,
the
as
cake
a visionary,
tastes so good.
as a visionary, I have so many ideas. I'm always like, we should do this and we can do that. And here's an idea. And I think there's like a beauty to visionaries. A lot of entrepreneurs are visionaries. And so they think bigger. They have foresight and they think like, oh, we should be doing this. And I think that's great. But restraint, which is probably one of the hardest things that I have actually learned, is hard. And I think, yes. And, you know, you're a visionary too, Maria. And so sometimes it's like our brains together can explode into like so many genius ideas, but what do we actually do? And I think Minna is really great at also restraining us and saying like, well, how do we focus?
Yeah. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we all are visionaries in our own way. I think the hardest part was that you have to be creative, you have to be visionary, but then keeping it within a scope is sometimes the hardest part, you know? So it's like, we can sell this course, but how are we going to do that? Okay, we're going to get really creative with the challenges going in. We're going to get really creative with the creative and the ads, you know? So all these different things of visioning within that scope was, I think, the hardest part, because we thought we felt there was so many things that we could do outside of that, when really we could get really creative within that. And so I think that it's just hard. It was hard for us simply because we knew sometimes there feels like there's two of us and we can do double the work, but we were already doing double the work, you know?
Yeah. So I think when we started, we first, you know, conceived the original course, which is Multi-Stream Machine. It's our signature course. And that's when we kind of started working with you. And we're like, okay, we have this course, we have our list, our growth is quite slow. What do we do with it? And that's when we kind of conceived the idea of challenges working, getting people in that know, like, and trust factor, working on, like, we had a free challenge and it led to selling Multi-Stream Machine on the back end. And we also had never really been a part of challenges. Like, we didn't understand any of that. So really helping us understand it and get better. Listen, the first time we did it, we had like a couple thousand people join. And then the next time it was 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So we've always, and we know that we can convert when we have the audience in front of us. So, or the community in front of us. So that's what we did. We did that for 6 months, I think, where we ran the challenges. We tested it to warm and cold audience. We saw the conversions. We started growing our list significantly, which was huge, because I think by ourselves, Minna and I only had 800 people on our list.
I'm in your ConvertKit. It's now 25. Is it okay if I share this number?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. 25,951 total subscribers now. So,
and every time we send an email, we lose 100. So we probably would have had way more.
Which is fine, you know?
Yes.
But we grow, like, probably significantly grow 3,000 to 5,000 every time we do a challenge. And the challenge was with you, and that was free. And we run ads to that. And then we sell into Multi-Stream Machine, and we have really great conversion into that. And it took us, we ran that for about 6 months. We saw that it worked. We started gaining our traffic before we added on a new, we have a self-liquidating funnel, which was like more of a tiny offer. And we did that on the second, right? And then that's our list builder, but it's not necessarily the revenue driver. And the revenue is coming from multi-stream machine, but also that visibility. And just, you always say it, it's like, I forget the exact words you say, but how much we give, right? Like that we pay it, that
Karma
we pay
Bank.
Yeah, Karma Bank. Thank you.
Karma Bank. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it makes it feel really attainable for sure. I think I like that we have somebody that we can go to when we're thinking about something and it never seems ridiculous. Because sometimes we'll be like, oh, what do you think about if we add this tier? And we don't know what we don't know. So there's a little bit of, ignorance is bliss, but being naive or whatever to the industry that we come up with different ideas. But then you're able to be like, oh yeah, I've seen people do this, or this is how you could actually do it this way. And it feels like, oh, wow, we're onto something here. It feels like that. So I think when, though you did tell us to restrain, it still got our wheels turning in a different way.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. Okay. 2 final questions. How has your life changed, or your lives changed and will be changed since achieving this amazing growth and outcome?
Do you want to go first?
Well,
you had a big thing happen this month.
Oh yeah. So my husband retired. He didn't retire. Each of us has a secondary business. And so, yeah. So because the Product Boss is thriving so much and I'm able to put my energy here where I want it to be, we also have the other business, and my husband is a pharmacist and he is able to come full time into our other business, which is Little Labels. And so it's been really exciting because that's a really big, huge change. But I think that I've transformed so much. I think, our lives have changed just in us being more self-aware, as well as being aware of the impact that we make. Then, monetarily, it's changed as well. Our voice is very clear now and we can sell a lot of different things, but we also are being more clear in the roles that we play and who we ask these certain questions to. It's just been really exciting. I feel like I feel confident in who I am compared to before, where I was still kind of figuring it out. Not that I have everything figured out. It feels more like I'm where I'm meant to be. It feels more purposeful.
Yeah. Mina and I had met actually online through another Facebook group where I was asking her questions about Amazon for my product-based business. And so I think that, like, thinking back to how we met, and then again, I'm like, should we do a podcast? She's like, I guess, and then we did a podcast, and we both had our other businesses that were quite successful businesses, and we still do have them. But I think this is like we started this as a hobby and this is needed in the market. Let's go and like give people information that they need, because it was totally free, right? Like podcasting, you don't get paid to podcast. Like we just aired it. And then slowly from there being like, well, how could we monetize it? What could we sell? Like, how could we help more people and impact more people through, at that point we started with just like small masterminds. It was a side hustle. It was 1 day a week was the Product Boss. Now the Product Boss is 8 days a week.
I know.
But yeah, I think for how our lives have changed, it's kind of a similar thing with husbands. Like my husband's an actor, a Broadway actor, and it's feast or famine a lot of times. And while he had an amazing job, the pandemic completely shut down the industry. And I remember last year when it got shut down, I was like, I'm not ready. It was March. Like, I wasn't ready to take over like the full responsibility of our household because I thought I had more time, right, to get the Product Boss where it needed to go. But we did it. Like we did what we did. And so it's amazing how our lives have transformed. I know a lot of us have saved money over, the course of the pandemic. We didn't get to go out. We didn't travel. We didn't do certain things. But I think my mindset, like I really had to have a reckoning with my mindset. I think finding true purpose, I as much as I've coached and consulted people, for 15 years, I don't think it was ever aligned with my purpose. And now somehow I have found it through the Product Boss because of the impact that we're having on people and the connections we have with other small businesses. Mina and I started a pledge. Like we've created the Shop 1 in 5 pledge where we've actually we're helping people make 1 in 5 of their purchases from a small business. Would we have ever started a pledge or some sort of movement before? No. So all of this happened post working with you, Maria. And I think part of it is, you saw in us what we could be, and you had confidence in us before we had confidence. And then we developed that confidence. And now we are confident in the actions we're taking and in the lives that we're creating and like leading. And exponential growth. I think before it was kind of like, again, like I said, that cap. And now it's like, let's just see, like, let's see where this goes. Cause it's really fun on this journey.
I love it.
And it never feels ridiculous. Sometimes we'll come to Maria and we'll be like, well, here's what we're thinking. And we'll kind of put everything out like, oh, we did this. We created this pledge. Now we're doing directory, all these different things. And she'll be like, oh, okay, here's what else you could do. Let's tweak it like this. And it's like this guilt-free growth that happens. Like she helps you, like you don't feel judged in anything. And I love that, because it's like someone who can think like really, really big for you. That's not like, oh, no, that's,
stay where you are.
Yeah.
That's
stay
too
where
big.
you are. Yeah. That's too big. Or, I think you'd be better off doing this or whatever. It feels like, very, and I love that you work in natural rhythm with us,
Awesome.
it really helps like our growth.
Guiltless growth. I love that. Actually, that's an amazing coined phrase. Okay. Thank you. I'm like so honored. And just the last question, promise the last question, and hopefully short, because I know what your answer is probably going to be, but I'm just going to ask it. If there's anyone who's watching right now that's on the fence about booking a call to speak with me or my team about coaching with me, what would you say to them?
Do it. Your lives will be transformed.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first call we had with you. It had a different background, but I remember specifically the first call we had where you talked to us about the strategy and like kind of what to do. And I think at that point we had no idea where it would take us.
Yeah.
But we said yes. And now look.
Yeah, for sure. I think absolutely do it. I mean, meeting you, you're such a gem. You're very strategic, but you're very positive and enlightening and all the things. Like you're just, a mix of strategy plus a mix of intuition. And I know you're just so positive too. So it just would be a life changer no matter what, even in just that one meeting.
Oh, thank you. Listen, I want to thank you so much. And if anyone's looking to find out more information about you, how do they get a hold of you, or where can they go?
theproductboss.com. You can listen to us on the Product Boss podcast. And if you want to take that pledge, it's shop1in5.com.
And we're always on Instagram at The Product Boss.
Awesome. Thank you. You guys rock. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Maria.